Hi everyone, this is Corey from Aquarium Co-op. Today I'm going to show you how to build a water-in system. Check out my other video for draining, but this is how to automatically change water, and we're going to show you how to drill and tap and install valves in PVC to run to your tanks. And yeah, so let's get started. So first thing we're going to need some valves, and the most reliable valves I've found so far are these AV4 air valves. I get these at gemco.com. They're, I think, like $1.50 a piece or something like that. But when you think about it, so this is $1.50, but this is automatic changing water in your aquariums. The $1.50 is the best $1.50 you're ever going to spend. And these guys, if I can do this in one hand here, come all the way apart. I believe they're nickel plated, and they have gaskets, so down the road if I ever had a problem I could replace said gasket. So yeah, we've got a rubber stopper here. That camera will focus in there. So yeah, we have a rubber stopper here, we have a gasket there. This is threaded. There we go, my camera's focusing on the desk. So this is threaded, and we're going to need to drill a hole, and then we're going to put threads in that hole in the PVC, and then we're going to use a nut driver, and these just so happen to fit a nut driver. You just put it right in there. We're going to put some Teflon tape, and we're going to screw this into the hole, and that's going to be our fill line in. The thing you need to know is we need to use Schedule 40 PVC. This will be the more expensive stuff when you're at Home Depot or Lowe's. And so right here, it's upside down, but Schedule 40, it can handle a higher PSI. We're not really going to put that much PSI to it anyway, there's not enough pressure. But the important part is, when we look at the end of this tube here, it is thicker. It is much thicker than the thin stuff. We're going to drill a hole, we're going to tap it, and we'll show you how to do that. So first what we're going to do is we're going to line up on here. We're going to put this PVC in place, and then I'm going to mark it where I roughly want the taps to be, just like I've done on this system. So we've got our fill line up here, we have the tap, the water comes down, we tapped and put a valve. Valve to line comes down, we fill a tank. Center of this tank we're doing the same thing, and the center of this tank we're doing the same thing. And the center of this tank we're doing the same thing. So relatively easy, and we're just going to mark on there, and then I'm going to show you the process of drilling and doing the work. Alright, so the first step, we marked our pipe. A tip here, if you mark it on the red lettering, your drill marks will be uniform. So if you're doing it on the white, you'll put a mark here, and then you might put it over here, and then you might put it over here, and it'll be all weird. If you use the red lettering or whatever writing is on your pipe as a guide, it'll stay central and on the same line. But the taps or the valves say they need 11/30 seconds drill bit. That's what I've got. We're just going to drill it. Now you kind of want to be careful here, and you don't want to aug it out a bunch, so you want to just make a straight down, clean drill, as clean as you can. Clean hole anyway. Try and clean it up as much as you can. Plastic melts a little bit. And then you're just going to move it down and go to the next one. We've only got 4 to do on this row, so it'll be relatively quick. number 3 here. And number 4. Let's see if I can get enough space here. Yep. All right. That hole cleaned up. Go back to hole number 1. Now we need to put threads on this. We've got our tap that I bought from Gemco when I bought the valves. In theory, this can be done without it, but I like this thing quite a bit. Now the trick is, you really don't want to slam this thing in there and strip it out. It's gonna work like a drill bit and strip it. So what you want to do is apply even pressure and drill slowly. So we put it square in the hole, and now we're going in. You only want to go, you know, maybe halfway. But as it screws in, all right, now we can screw back out. We now have put threads in that hole. You can see on here all the threads that we just carved out. We're going to do that 4 times, just like we did on everything else. Clear the hole as much as possible. We're going to back the drill out. And I've put the drill in to low for this, so that way it can't go too fast. That's as fast as it can go, and it gives me a little more control. Go to number 3 here. Back it out. Go to number 4. Go and back it out. Alright, so mainly what this is going to do, it's going to make it as easy as possible to thread these valves in, and it's going to make it so in theory they won't go in crooked. And I recommend you prep all the valves by taking out the stems. There's 3 and 4. Alright, now we need some Teflon tape, and you wrap tape in the direction the threads are screwing. So we're just going to throw some on here. In theory, if I can, there we go. So some thread tape. Some people use silicone. I don't go that far. I think it looks extra messy, and this has worked well for me. So I just do this. And I typically do everything in series. It works out to be faster, so we're going to go ahead and do all 4 of these as well. Makes for a slightly longer video, but you can see how long this takes in real time, which is not too long. Wrapped it probably 3 or 4 times. I'm using a little bit thicker. I'm using the premium heavy duty pipe thread tape, as it's called. You know, it definitely is thicker. I don't know if it works any better, but it takes less wraps and stuff like that. You always want to keep going with the threads, and the goal is so that it'll tighten the thread tape as you put it in, as opposed to reversing it back out. So that's why we go with the threads, not against them. Alright, so that's all 4 done. So now, the trick is, apparently you can put this in a drill and you can drill it in there, But the tried and true method and the recommended method just so happens that, you think you'd have the size on here, wouldn't you? 10 millimeter, yes, a 10 millimeter nut driver fits this perfect. So we have a threaded hole. In theory, we're going to thread this in. So let's go ahead and try that. So I would say go slow at first. You only want to thread this once. It's threading right in. And we're going to tighten it down in there as it goes. And we're not applying a ton of pressure. You know, the goal is a low pressure system, so the goal is not to strip this out, and it's almost a friction fit, really. So there's one. We'll go to the next one here. This one's getting tighter. That first one's a little loose. I might back it out and put some more thread tape on it. And we're going to 3 here. And we're going to 4. So these last two threaded in much better than the first two. I'm going to put a little more pipe thread tape on these to make sure that they stay the way I want. Looks like a lot of the pipe thread tape came off. And maybe that's just me not putting it on thick enough while I'm doing this for the camera. Never had that happen before, but we're going to put some extra on there to make sure it's a nice, good seal. So you always want to do it right the first time and not have to go back and tear this back out of your system because you've got a leak. Which, if I did get a leak, that's probably a time when I would have the system off for a few days and use some silicone and fix that leak. Alright, so got much more pipe thread tape on it this time. Let's see how it threads in. Much tighter fit. This one's looser. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add a little more pipe thread tape. Alright, last one in again. Alright, now we're going to put the valves in. Or the stems, I guess as it's called, the valve's already in. And then it comes to plumbing this in line, which I've got a few more of these to make for the next level and things like that. But then it's just a matter of connecting it to the old system. I'll be showing you how I do that as well. So stay tuned. Alright, so we've got our valves put in here in the line. And we're running the next line down low here. And we've got these two connected. These two lines, and we're going to cap both ends down there. We might tie them in at a later point when we move on to the next row. But we're going to shoot this T off to that line there where the water's coming in, so we can supply both of these, and that's the next step. For the last step after tying things in is now to connect some airline tubing to these valves. I'm using silicone just so it doesn't get brittle over time. And we just put that on the barb fitting there. Just like, oh, I zoomed way too far in here, sorry about that. So the last step is to put airline tubing on the barb fitting there. And then we want it to come down to our aquarium. I don't have any tops built yet, so I'm just going to make it extra long so it sits inside the aquarium. And then I'm going to cut them to fit and drill a small hole in the plastic back strip so it'll be held. And you can put a little barb, like I've done over here on these tanks. So, like, I built this top, put a hole through it, and then these are little drip irrigation barbs that, you know, I want to say you get like 50 of them for $5 or something, and you just put that in, and that way this can never come out. And so, yeah, that helps. Next up, we'll show you, we'll test the system and see how it works. Alright, so the final part of the video here is water filling. We have water filling from the system we've made. Water's coming in all these tanks. A lot of this will be neatened up, obviously. As I put tops on and things like that, I'll neaten a lot of this up. But for now, water's coming in automatically. I haven't detected any leaks so far, which is a good thing. Remember, this is a low pressure system. I'm actually running it out of a big tote over here, and I'm using a mag drive pump, a 9.5 mag drive pump at the moment. I'll upgrade that if I need to, but it's a relatively low pressure system. Remember, we've got all these wide open outlets, and so there's not a lot of pressure in these lines unless we create back pressure. And all my splicing in, it looks like I have a drip here that I will need to fix, so I will work on that, but otherwise everything else working well. So until next time,